All right, what's up, everybody? This is Expat D here. Thank you for checking out my channel. I've been living abroad, in and out of America since 2002. I've been consecutively out of America for the past 7 years. I've been over 35 different countries. Pretty much a lot of my major milestones in my life have been abroad. What I want to talk to you today about is a hidden cost moving abroad that a lot of people don't talk about that. A lot of people talk, when they talk about abroad, a lot of times they're single, they're talking about dating, or they're talking about retirement. I make content for someone that, some people may be interested in this if you're retired, but if you're not and you're trying to relocate abroad, something that you need to consider is what happens if you have a child. Okay, I made another video on if you give birth abroad. That's something to check out if that's you. Something that you may want to consider that a lot of people don't talk about is schooling. Okay, here's the thing. I'm in education and I do teach in international schools. One thing to consider when you do move abroad is that these international schools are expensive. At least the ones that you'd probably want to send your child to, okay? So, I'll give you an example. A lot of these schools in these different countries, like the main international schools, they may cost $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a year. Yeah, I'm not lying. So that's something to keep in mind. Some people may say, oh yeah, well, I want my child, to go to school with the locals, so they can learn the language and be immersed in the culture and all that stuff. And yeah, that's an idea, but that can be pretty drastic. And I think there's some things that I'd like to highlight. Okay, we have to have a real conversation here. So here's one. A lot of times, particularly people with children, the parent wants to go abroad. Kids don't really care. Okay, it's really the parent. The parent's like, oh, I want to go to this country and right? And the kids are like, kids for the most part, they just like kid stuff. And America is really good when it comes to kid stuff. They've got like the Boys and Girls Clubs, they got YMCAs, they've got malls and movies and libraries and different kids programs. I would say America probably does it the best. So to uproot a child from that's tough to do. And a lot of us, the majority of us, are in this situation. We're older. We don't like adult life abroad. I'm sorry, we don't like adult life, let's say in the States or in the West, just because of bills and things like that, the way life is and the stress. So we want to leave the country. For kids, you got to pay attention. Pay attention that if you do make that move, that they are happy and they're making the adjustment, because it does have to work for everybody. Now, when it comes to schools, there's tiers. So let's say you're someone that says, oh yeah, I'm just going to send them to a local school, Here's something to keep in mind. If you want your child to go to college, okay? I'm still an advocate for going to college in the United States. And the reason why I say that is because if your child does want to get work experience, and they come with like a degree from wherever, let's say the degree is like from just another country. You could insert the other country. It's going to be looked kind of, in the job market, it will be looked like employers might look at that kind of sideways, okay, depending on where it's from. So it's good, the American system. And I'll tell you what I like from America. I like the American dollar. I like the American passport. I like the American degree. Okay. And of course I like American dollars if you're able to earn that while you're abroad. So that's what I really like about living abroad, really, is I like being American abroad. There's advantages to that. That's the best way to do it. That's a sweet spot. Okay, having American credit, passport, all that stuff. It has its advantages abroad. It's probably, I think it's worth more to you abroad than in the country for a lot of cases. So when it comes to school, you want your child to be on a certain track. Okay, you want them to be where if they get a transcript and they're trying to go to college, everything is lined up perfectly to get into that college. That's the difference. Like, for example, I've taught in countries like China, and I used to ask myself for certain subjects like math. I used to say, you know how Chinese people are with math. Math is like their religion. And I used to wonder, why would a Chinese person want an American teacher to teach them math? And here's the funny thing, a lot of times they really don't. If you ever see what goes on, they go to school at night or they go to school on the weekend and they're taught subjects like math and certain other like STEM related ones. And then they already know it. They've already been taught and they're just kind of in the class, just, whatever. They've already been taught that unit through somebody else. But anyway, they're there for the same reason. They want to go to school in the States and they want that transcript to be basically in line with what's wanted in American colleges. That's why they're going to the international school. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a better education. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. For some subjects it is, for some subjects maybe not. So that's the game on that. So just knowing that, it is good to, it is good to consider getting your child in an international school. They are expensive. There's certain jobs that will pay for that, depending on what that job is. A couple other things to keep in mind. Culture shock is real. Okay, you have to really pay attention if you're sending your child abroad. Are they really fitting in well with the kids around them? Okay, you don't want you to be living your best life and your children to be miserable. You got to you want to make sure that the move works for everybody, and that may not be the first country. Okay, you pay attention to that. So another thing, there's tiers to international schools. Some of them will have really good, not to knock teachers or anything, some of them will have really experienced, really good teachers. Some lower tier ones, they'll basically have like backpackers, they'll have people that don't have a degree in the particular subject. They're just trying to travel. They don't really have like the proper license, and you may not get a very good education. I'll be honest with you. It depends on the tier. Just because they give you a sales job and tell you, yeah, it's great, you got to really pay attention. Just because it's international, it has that label, it doesn't mean that's the case. So there are other options also, like if you want to consider having your child do homeschooling, that is an option, but they're missing out on the social aspect of going to school and being around other kids. So that's something to keep in mind. Just always remember to keep in mind that most of you are trying to give your child something that you didn't have. You probably went to school in the States or somewhere in the West, and you're experimenting having your child do schooling in another country. That's something that you probably didn't do. So really pay attention to that. Pay attention to make sure that they're fitting in. Really don't shortchange them on their education. Make sure you're giving them something that can still set them up for their future if they want to go back to school in the States, things like that. All right, so that's just a couple things to keep in mind. I'm Expat D. I've been, traveling since 2002. I've been over 35 different countries. Yeah, if you like this type of content, if you're interested in moving abroad, you want to do it sustainably, check out my channel, man. I'll have a lot of content, of me traveling, going to other countries, and really just explaining how to do it, okay? How to do it in a practical, sustainable way. All right, well, thanks a lot for joining me. Peace and I'm out.